Hello, children. This is like the third or fourth time that I've recorded this video. I just feel like I'm not explaining it well enough. So please, if you have any questions, please contact me. I see a lot of you on Instagram like, oh my gosh, I don't understand English, la-di-da-di-da. Email me, text me. I am here to help you. All right, so let's start from the beginning. I'm going to explain what we're doing this week, and then we will start basically going into what we're doing this week. So this week, here we are. This week we have 2 lessons. They're due on Friday, just like last week. If you do not complete the first lesson by Wednesday, I will be contacting your parent. We're going to keep going with dystopias. I really like dystopias. I'm thinking y'all like it. Y'all are seeming to have a grip on it, so I like that. We're going to keep going. We're going to grab a new text. We're going to use the old text from last week, the lottery. We're actually going to go over it today just so we're all on the same page. And then we are going to read a new text. And then we're going to compare them. And then hopefully we can start a project next week. Woohoo! It's going to be over dystopias. I think it's going to be fun. I'm really trying to make all of this fun and not like boring writing stuff because I know y'all hate that. So please, if you haven't already filled out the survey from last week, please do that. Just so I can continue making lesson plans that you hopefully like and that it's not awful to do on your own at home. Because we do know that we have 30 more days, right? School, as of right now, we should be back in school on May 4th, says the governor, but I don't really see that happening, and Messiah is going to be crying and crying and crying. I am so bored. Yeah, so let's get going. So like I said, we're going to keep going with the dystopias, so I just wanted to refresh your brain with a definition. An imagined state or society in which there is great suffering or injustice, typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic, right? So let's break it down. We know that it's an imagined state or society. So this is a fiction, which there is great suffering or injustice. So it is as unpleasant as possible. And that typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic. We're mainly looking at ones that are totalitarian, which means that the government controls everything, right? So it is a made-up story that is just an awful society where there's great suffering and the government is in charge. So an overview of dystopias, once I explain this whole slide, I would take notes on this slide. Like I said last week, either in your notes section on your phone, you can write it down. I suggest writing it down. When you write things down, you remember them more. Or you can take a screenshot of the whole slide. So overviews of dystopias. They're usually a story about a fairly messed up future where the people find themselves in an oppressive society. So it's in the future where the people are oppressed, where they're dictated, basically, where they're not allowed to be individual. The powers that be often try to pass off the messed up existence as a perfect society. So the powers that be would be like the government, and they're trying to say that our existence, our society is perfect. And if you weren't oppressed, if you were individual, if you weren't all equal, then we would have a problem. That our society right now is perfect. So, for example, in the lottery, they think that the lottery is perfect. They stoned a woman to death, and they still think that their society is perfect. Last one, just think Hunger Games, The Giver, Divergent, right? So in the Hunger Games, all of those people in the main district, I don't remember, is it District 3 that's the main one? But all of those people in the main district, the government district, they think that their society is awesome. But everyone else in all of the other districts hate it because they're starving. They don't have money. They're all suffering, right? But the government is telling them, the powers that be are telling them, this is a perfect society. We have to be like this, or our society would be unexistent and it would just be crazy. When really them making society be like that is the crazy part. So why write a dystopia? Why do people write these? They're a fairly effective way of making criticism of a current trend or societal ill in our own world. Basically, what they're saying is that the authors that write dystopias are critiquing something that is happening in the world today. So, in other words, the extreme society that exists in a dystopia helps us to see the more subtle problems in our own. An example, after all of this passes and the coronavirus goes away, fingers crossed, I'm sure there are going to be so many new dystopias written about a virus that's taking over the planet. Excuse me. That's taking over the planet, and how the governments change our society and our world to adjust to this new virus. All right, so the lottery. I'm just going to do a little overview of it so we can all be on the same page. So when it opens, we see that the setting is sunny in a rural village. Everything seems peaceful. That rural village basically means like a small town, like a country, like where Messiah's from. But that everything is just super peaceful. They say the sun's shining, the grass is green. Everyone's just kind of giggling, making small talk, right? Before the lottery starts, some people talk about the weather. Mrs. Hutchinson, the one who dies, talks about makes a joke about being late, that she had to do the dishes and stuff like that. Like, they seem to be all friends and friendly. Then we get to the lottery part. So how the lottery works is that the head of households draw a piece of paper, and the family who ends up with a black dot then has to draw again, right? So we know that basically all of the men of the community draw pieces of paper, and Bill Hutchinson ends up with a black dot. So that means that everyone in his family then has to draw, and the person who ends up with a black dot is then stoned to death. So everyone, including little Davy. So basically, let's go back. I'm sorry. So when Bill Hutchinson's family draws, his wife Tessie, who was late, who made the joke about doing dishes and everyone laughed and everyone was friendly with her, is then stoned to death. So the people that were just laughing at her joke, that were just being friends with her, that were being friendly, just stoned her to death. Turned around and stoned her. During the stoning, we get some details about what's happening, and we see that little Davy, Tessie's young son, stones her to death as she pleads for her life. They say that they give him pebbles instead of stones because he's so small. And this toddler basically helps stone his mother to death. We see that it's also very obvious that this is a tradition the town does not want to get rid of. I think his name is Old Man Warner. He talks about how other towns are kind of getting away from the lottery and stopping it, but he calls them crazy. Like, why would you want to do that? So they like this tradition, but they never tell us why they like the tradition. And then while everyone is stoning her, Old Man Warner is actually encouraging people to stone them more, stone her more, throw more stones at her. It's just awful. So through all of this is what the author is calling into question. This is what the author is critiquing from our world today. She is critiquing tradition, right? And that's kind of through Old Man Warner, him saying other towns are getting rid of this, but we're not. They're crazy. This is tradition. We have to do it. So basically, how far does a tradition go before it's not okay anymore? The dark side of human nature and violence. I want to do these two together because I feel like they just go hand in hand. So basically, when Tessie arrives, like I said earlier, everyone is her best friend. Everyone's chilling, having a great time. And then they literally turn on her that quickly and stone her to death. They don't shoot her where it's like one shot and she's not suffering. They are violent with her, where they are stoning her and hitting her until she dies, right? So the author is calling all of those into question. How dark is human nature? Like, what are humans capable of? And then that just kind of goes in with the violence. Like, what are humans capable of? Why are they doing this? So I just wanted to go over the dystopia aspects and how the lottery is equates to those, right? So if you look in this first column right here, it's dystopia aspects and then examples. So the first one, society is designed to treat people equally with no unfair advantages. So everyone draws a paper, the same piece, or not the same piece of paper, but everyone draws a piece of paper out of the same box. Second thing is it discusses social issues or mob mentality and traditions. We just talked about that. People turn against Tessie Hutchinson immediately. This is the tradition. She's the one that drew the black dot. She's dying. This is tradition. Everyone else is doing it. I'm going to do it too. Lack of emotional capacity. Tessie's kids are relieved that they don't have a black dot. So at the beginning, when the Hutchinson family draws, they all get pieces of paper, right? And they have the kids open theirs first. And none of the kids have the black dot. And they're like, yeah! And like giggling and laughing and so excited. But because they don't have the black dots, that means that one of their parents has the black dots. So they're like excited, giddy that none of them are dying, but their parents are. Right? So that's just like, wait, what? Okay. So basically the lack of emotional capacity and the lack of holding on to someone and building that relationship and caring for someone, right? So these are all aspects of a dystopia, and this is how the lottery uses them, right? So these are the examples of the dystopia in the lottery. So next thing that we are going to do, you're not doing number 3, so just that's for lesson 2. I forgot to take it off. Next steps, you're going to read the next text, which is Harrison Bergeron, and you're just going to kind of look for why this text is a dystopia. So kind of looking for those dystopia aspects and how they're used in the text. You're going to do that with a new text, Harrison Bergeron, and then you have discussion questions. In lesson 2, you will do dystopia solutions. Like I said, if you do not complete lesson 1 by Wednesday, I will be contacting your parent. Both lessons are due on Friday. Office hours are from 10 to 11 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But you can always text me, always email me, whatever you need to do. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.